What's up, everybody? I'm just out in Kingston at my sister's. It's late at night, so I gotta speak a little quieter. First up, we got the LA Chargers -2 at Cleveland, +2. The over/under sits at 46.5. Browns are 48, 4-8 against spread the last 12 overall, and 2 of 5 against spread at home. Cleveland's 1-6 their last 7 versus the AFC West. That's straight up. Chargers are 4-2 against spread their last 6 overall. Chargers are 2-6 against spread versus the Browns, but 8-2 straight up versus Cleveland. Underdogs 7-1 against spread the last 8 meetings. Aaron Jones anytime TD. Oh, sorry about that. Mike Williams anytime TD. Chargers -2. Chargers money line. I like the score to be about 28-25, which would go over the 46.5 total. Next up, New York Giants +8 at Green Bay. 8-point home favorites over under 41. This game is the early one in London, England. Favorites 4-1 against spread. The home team, which is kind of irrelevant in this, is 3-1 against spread. Overs hit in 7 of the last 10 meetings. Green Bay -8. Green Bay to win. I like Green Bay to win this game going away 28-10. 31-14, 28-14, something along those lines. I like Aaron Jones for an anytime TD. Aaron Rodgers over 1.5 passing TDs. Alan Lazard over 45.5 receiving yards and an anytime TD. And I also like Saquon Barkley as an anytime TD. And just so you guys know, out of the 60 to 64 games that have been played so far in the NFL season, 31 of those games have been decided by 6 points or less, and 26 of those games have been decided by a field goal or less. Next up, we got Atlanta +10 at Tampa -10, over under at 46.5. No Cordarrelle Patterson for Atlanta is going to be a huge factor. Atlanta's perfect against spread so far this year. They're 10-4 straight. Tampa Bay, is 10-4 straight up their last 14, and 11-4 their last 15 at home. Falcons have covered the spread in all 4 games, like I said, so far this year. They're 1-5 straight up versus Tampa, and 2-5 against spread their last 7 versus the Bucks. Home team is 7-3 against spread the last 10. Overs hit in 7 of the last 8 meetings. Bucks -10. Bucks money line. Tom Brady over 2.5 TD passes. There's no way Tom Brady loses 3 games in a row. Last time he lost 3 games in a row was 2010 in his 2002, in his second season in the NFL. I think the Bucks get on track against a weak Atlanta Falcons team. Detroit +3 at New England -3. Over under set at 45.5. Pats are 2-6-1 against spread their last 9 overall. Pats are 4-1 straight up at home versus the Lions. Lions are 4-1 against spread their last 5 overall. Lions +3. Lions money line. I know Bill Belichick will be prepared. I know he'll have the defense on point. But Detroit is the highest scoring offense and the worst, or Detroit gives up the most points defensively as well. But I think they have enough offensively, especially with Amon-Ra St. Brown coming back from injury this week. I think he could be a big difference for Detroit. I like their scoring offense. They are one of the best teams in the last 2-3 years at covering the spread, so I will roll my dice on Detroit. Amon-Ra St. Brown anytime TD. Hunter Henry anytime TD. Hunter Henry over 24.5 reception yards. Jared Goff over 1.5 passing yards. Houston +7 at Jacksonville -7. Over under 43.5 in this one. Jags are 3-9 against spread their last 12 overall, and 3-10 straight up. Houston's 4-1 against spread versus the Jags, and 8-0 versus Jacksonville the last 8 games they played. Texans are 2-10 straight up on the road their last 12. The underdogs 5-1 the last 6 in this series. Houston versus Jacksonville. Texans are 6-2 against spread in Jacksonville. Overs 5-2 in Jacksonville. I think this is another dog I'm going to be playing, and dogs have been favorable to play so far this year, once again, just like the last couple of years. Houston +7. I like this game. Houston on the money line. They will be my upset. I don't know how Trevor Lawrence and the Jags recover from that 5 turnover games last week against the Eagles. I think this is something like a 23-20, 2017 sort of game in Houston's favor. Streak might end, but I'm not going to put my money on it tonight's Saturday. Well, I guess technically it's Sunday, it's after midnight. Seattle +5 at New Orleans -5, over under 45.5. Saints are 1-6 straight up their last 7 at home. Seattle's 4-2 against spread their last 6 overall. Hawks are 1-4 straight up in New Orleans. Dog is 4-0 against spread the last 4 meetings. Home team's 5-2 against spread their last 7 verse. Unders 4-1 the last 5. Seahawks +5, but the Saints on the money line. I think the Saints come through and win this one 21-17, even though I want the Saints to lose every game because, well, the Eagles own their first round draft pick, so it's purely selfish reasons. But I think the Saints still win this game. Next up, we got Miami Dolphins -3 at the New York Jets, +3 over-under set at 45. This one, Tua, we all saw the ugliness that surrounded him the last 2 weeks. Teddy Bridgewater, though, is a veteran QB. He will be able to manage the football game. Will it be enough to get the Dolphins over the Jets? We'll see in a minute. New York Jets are 1-7 straight up at home and 1-7 against spread versus the AFC East in their last 8. New York Jets are 1-7 against spread versus the Dolphins. Miami's 4-0 against spread in New York versus the Jets. Road teams 4-1 against spread the last 5 meetings. Under is 5-0 the last 5 games these two have played in New York. Dolphins -3. I think Bridgewater will be enough to get the job done. Dolphins will cover this short number on the road against a weak New York Jets team. Even though they are making strides and improving, they're still got a long ways to go yet. Still a couple seasons away before they really see that improvement and playoff hopes they want. Dolphins on the money line, 24-17, 24-14, something like that is how I see this game playing. Pittsburgh Steelers +14 at Buffalo Bills -14, over-under set at 45.5. Bills are 8-2 straight up their last 10 overall and 5-0 straight up their last 5 games at home. Bills are 1-5 straight up their last 6 games at home versus Pittsburgh, however, and the Steelers are 11-3 against the spread and straight up the last 14 times they have played the Bills, and the under is hit in 6 of the last 7 games these two teams have played. I do like the Bills on the money line with no TJ Watt for the Steelers. The Steelers are too beat up on both sides of the ball. And yes, I do like the fact that they're putting Pickett out, the young kid at QB, but really with this tough schedule they got coming out, are they putting him in a good situation or are they setting him up for failure? Trubisky obviously didn't work. Who are you going to roll to next? It's really unfortunate that Pickett's getting thrown into this, although you want to see what you got in him, so I understand why you would, and I probably would, to tell you the truth, too. I would have rolled Pickett out there game 1 myself, but I think the Bills will cover this number. I think the Bills could blow them out. I hate betting double-digit spreads, especially with the way the Dogs have been covering and how many close games there have been this year compared to years past. They're on pace to set the record for the most games decided within a field goal and within 6 points in an NFL season. But I think the Bills roll like 31-17, which is exactly the number which would give a push, or 35-14, 41-42 to 20 or something like that. I see the Bills walking away with this one and showing they truly are above, even with all their injuries and the secondary. Pickett, though, those turnovers, a lot of good things. He could scramble and cause issues, but I just think the Bills are too good for a team like Pittsburgh, who is obviously rebuilding and retooling. And next up, we got the Chicago Bears +7.5 at Minnesota -7.5. Over-under set at 44 in this one. Minis 4-1 straight up their last 5 overall and 2-7 against spread their last 9. Vikings are 7-2 their last 9 versus the NFC North. Bears are 5-11 straight up their last 16 games overall. Chicago is 1-4 against spread in mini and their last 5 overall versus mini. Vikings have given up the most passing yards this year, but the Bears have thrown for the least passing yards this year. So how much is that mini defense deficiency really going to affect them? I don't think a great deal, especially with Justin Fields having the least amount of passing attempts in the NFL, the least amount of passing completions, the least amount of passing yards, etc., etc. It goes on and on. I like Minnesota to win and cover this number, something like 27-14. I like them to win by 10 or 13 points, somewhere around there. Justin Jefferson, anytime TD. Delvin Cook, over 13.5 receiving yards. And I might put a small number on Kirk Cousins, over 1.5 passing TDs. As long as that number's not 2.5, I'll probably play it. And I might play Delvin Cook for an anytime TD as well in this one. And I'll look at Justin Fields' number. But I'm not going to bet on a lot of these games. There's only like 4 or 5 games I really like this week. Tennessee -1 at Washington +1, over under a 43. Washington's played awful. Wentz has been awful this year. Titans are 5-0 against spread in Washington. Washington's 2-7 straight up their last 9 overall. Titans are 12-6 their last 18 games overall. Tennessee 7-3 against spread versus Washington. The underdog 6-0 the last 6 games in this series. The road team 6-0 against spread the last 6 meetings. Titans -1. Titans money line. Derrick Henry, that is, anytime TD. Derrick Henry over 82.5 rushing yards. I don't think this game is very close. I think Washington is garbage. I think the Giants are just as bad, but they've had an easier schedule than the Washington football team has so far this year. And we'll see how that continues to go the rest of the way. The Giants are slightly better than Washington. Washington's a bottom 3 team. Giants, I think, are a bottom 6 or 7 team, even though they got a 3-1 record. Next up, Dallas +5.5 at the LA Rams -5.5. Over under set at 42 in this one. Rams are 11-3 straight up their last 14 games overall. Dallas is 8-3 straight up and against spread their last 11 overall. Cowboys are 1-5 straight up versus the NFC West. Rams are 5-0 straight up versus the NFC East. Home team 7-2 against spread the last 9 meetings. Favorites 5-2 against spread the last 7 times these two teams have met. Dallas ranks second with 15 sacks, and Stafford's been sacked 16 times so far this year, the second most in the NFL. Rams have been outscored 44-3 in the fourth quarter. That's the biggest fourth quarter differential in the wrong side of that column that you want to be. Dallas is 9-1 against spread on the road and 13-2 against spread versus the NFC. I like Kupp for an anytime TD. Dallas +5.5. Rams on the money line. I think this is a real tight, close game. 28-27, 27-24 type score. And I will pick the Rams to eke this one out at home. I think Cooper Rush, he is not going to get that next win to start his career perfect. I think his first loss will come this week, and that'll get the Cowboys to really want to rush back Dak Prescott for their Week 6 matchup against the Eagles, but we'll see how that plays out in the future. San Fran -6.5. Road point favorites at Carolina to face the Panthers, over under 39.5. Niners are 1-7 against spread in Carolina. The favorite is 7-3 against the spread. San Fran is 7-2 against spread their last 9 games and 11-5 straight up their last 16. Panthers are 1-10 against spread their last 11 and 1-8 against spread their last 9 at home. Niners look decent. Panthers look awful. Baker Mayfield's been playing terrible. I'm going to take San Fran on the money line, but I think this is too big a number. I'm going to take Carolina Panthers +6.5 as home dogs. I like them with the points. I don't think this game will get out of hand like that. I think the score is something like a 24-21, 27-21 type deal, just squeaking under that number in the end. Next up, Las Vegas Raiders +7 at Kansas City -7, 7-point home favorites. Over under is 51.5 in this game. They expect points to be put up. Chiefs are 14-3 straight up their last 17 games and 9-1 straight up their last 10 at Las Vegas. Kansas City is 8-1 straight up their last 9 at home versus the Raiders. Chiefs are 5-1 against spread at home versus Vegas their last 6. Home team is 8-3 against spread their last 11 meetings. Favorites 5-2 against spread their last 7 versus. Under is 11-3 their last 14 in Kansas City between these two. Can Carr and Adams finally have that breakout game? Carr's completed over 70% of his passes versus the Chiefs in his career. Chiefs have won 6 straight Monday nighters. Mahomes is 5-1 straight up on Monday Night Football. I don't know what to do about this game. This is another game where I'm going to be, a lot of these games I'm going to be doing in-game betting, where it's not really going to be a lot of these bets before the game starts. But before the game, I would say I'll be on Raiders +7, Chiefs on the money line, Clyde Edwards-Helaire over 69.5 receiving rushing yards combined. And I don't know what score to predict. I think this number has a chance to hit the over, but 51.5 is a little high for me. I could see this being a 35-28 type game, 38-35, just as easy as I could see it being a 21-17 game. So I really don't know what to make of the over-under total. Again, like I said, a lot of these games this week will be in-game plays for me. Next up, Cincy +3.5 on the road to face the Ravens, -3.5, over-under 47.5 on this one. The Ravens D has blown 2 big leads, but against 2 really good teams. Tua-led Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills, who a lot of people have as Super Bowl favorites. I have them losing in the AFC Championship before the season started, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if they made it to the Super Bowl, or if they finally won a Super Bowl, but we all know how Buffalo fares when they actually make it to a Super Bowl. 4 in a row. That's all I'll say. Anyways, Ravens, good teams. They have lost to Bengals, beat the Dolphins, but that ugly Tua situation last week, how much of that affected the outcome of that game? I don't know. Personally, I think if Tua stays healthy, the Dolphins win that game easily. And we're not talking about the Bengals the way we are this week, but it is what it is. The Bengals did what they needed to do in the situation they were in, and that is pick up the win. Ravens have lost a franchise worst 5 straight games at home. Will that continue? I'm not sure. Ravens are 12-2-2 against spread when the line is set between 3 and 3.5, and it is 3.5 in this one today. Bengals are 4-1 against spread in Baltimore. They swept the season series last year and really rubbed it in Baltimore's face, dominating them. Since he's 10-2 against spread their last 12 overall, and 2-5 straight up versus the Ravens. So as much as they dominated last year with them